Hi, this is David with this Print Media Ministries. This is part 2 of a video training on screen capture on how to add a spot color to your document. You see here we had a leaflet or flyer track that was all one color on the graphics, but had two color on the titles, which you don't see. And so we want to take something like that and turn it into something like this. Now, in the previous document or training video, we saw how you could add this red here in the graphics, so the graphics red will be the same matching color as this title color. They're both what's called a PMS, a Pantone Matching System 185, and that I will show you here what that is. In this guidebook, it costs about up to $80 that you buy from an ink company. It has all the 800 to 1,000 Pantone colors, and the one I picked right here where the arrow is a 185. And you buy it mixed, or you mix it yourself from the primary mixing colors. And so what we did, the three things I did in the previous document, in the previous time training, we created a second color, which we added using the paintbrush tool over here to make an outline and selecting the color. And then second of all, I use a paint bucket tool and I poured in the inside color, and then I was able to have the two colors on two separate layers in the layers palette over here, and one was on the red was added to a new layer. The second layer was black, was the background outline was dragged to the trash down here, which left only the 185 red layer. And then by going up here to image and over to mode, we were able to pick out a duotone, and then after picking out the duotone, we were able to go to monotone, and then we were able to double click on the red here and we were able to pick out a color, and I picked out the 185 color. I went OK, and it switched from not having 100% now, so I must have had it on the wrong fill. So I can go edit, undo. Have to close this first, I guess. So now that's how we did that. We separated, made an additional color. We separated the color from the other color so they could have two printing plates. The laser printer wouldn't matter, or the inkjet, but when you're on the printing press, you have to have a separate color for each separate plate for each color, separating the colors into spot color separation. And there has to be a trap or a slight overlap between the colors, so I made it so that the red traps under the black. So that's basically how that works. Now let's look over here in InDesign, and what I'd like to show you here is how we're going to get these colors to piece together when we make our page. This is the page layout program, and the first thing we would do over here, I already did it over here once. We're going to try to zoom out here. As soon as that gets done, there it goes. So what I did here is, first of all, I'll go over even further if we can. And the first thing you do to import your graphics is you go in the tools palette here and you take the picture rectangular frame tool and you make a rectangle here, and then we go file, place. They call it placing a picture in InDesign. This is InDesign CS5. And then we go down here, and somewhere down it says Spanish cover art black. Double click on that, and so the black goes into the picture. Let's get it in within the border here. Make it a little bigger so the whole thing shows. Okay, that's the first element there. Now let's go and import. We're going to make there are two ways of doing this, so we're going to try the second way this time. We're going to go file, place, and then we're going to go up here to the top, and where it says cover art Spanish red, this is going to be the fly that flies through the man's belly. And you see that that didn't work like that, so we have to go edit, undo. that we didn't want to replace it, we wanted it to be its own deal. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to place it over here. There we go. Now we can move this around, drag it, click and drag it over, bring the graphic over here, and this is the fly that flies through the man's stomach. It goes somewhere like right about in there, like that. Then we need to put in our third element, which would be the red in the shoes. And so I'm going to deselect that by clicking outside the item, and then I'm going to go back to File, Place again, and then we're going to pick our last item, which is going to say down here cuffs and shoes, red art cuffs and shoes. You notice that each one of these items is labeled as a PS. That means it's a Photoshop format, file format. The reason we choose that is because it carries over the Pantone colors from our artwork in Photoshop into Adobe Indesign. And so we're going to click on this now. That loads it into this cursor. And then you click over here, for example, and there it is. And now what we do is we move it over, either with the arrow keys or just dragging it with click and drag like this. Let's get it in a proper approximate location now. Whoops. So what you do is get it close, like that, and then you can see if you zoom in with the zoom tool, you see it's not quite aligned. And as I said, there has to be an overlap, and that went too far, and you see it tends to move a 4/1000th of an inch or so when you push the arrow keys on the keyboard. Another way to do it would be to go up here in the left hand top corner of InDesign, and you can see all these X's and Y coordinates, and you can see the length of things. So what you would do is you just drag across, for example, the X is a -8.2 inches, and you would just type in a 1,000 or so less number or 1,000 more number, and that would move the on the X and Y coordinate. If you add 1,000, it goes to the right. If you take out 1,000, it goes a hair to the left. But as you can see now, the thing has an overlap and there's no gap. And so now let's go back to our document, over on the other side of the document here. Oh, the other thing you'd want to do then is, let's go View Fit on Screen. Fit Page and Window. Now, let's go over to where we were over here. So what you'd do next is you would drag a marquee around the whole thing. So you take the arrow key, you drag a marquee around the whole deal, and that selects all three items. And then you would go up here under Object and go down to Group. And that way you can see when you click and drag on your thing to put it someplace, all the three colors that are exactly registered all travel together. And so what you would do is you would drag this down over here, and you come over here to where it goes in the document, and you just put it in here right like this, and then you'd move it side to side to get it approximately where you want it. And I had my blue guidelines you see there as to where it should go. And then when you finally print and fold the document, you see if the graphic is centered side to side and up and down. And so now that we know how to put two colors into a graphic, let me show you how to add the color of the text. The text has to be a 185 also, and if you click with the text tool over here and you drag across it, you'll see over here in the tools, in the colors palette, swatches palette, you'll see that it says right here is Pantone 185. So how do you get that specific color? When you open up InDesign to create something, it's not going to have that color in it. So what you have to do is find that color. So the way you do that, you go up here in the top right corner and go New Color Swatch. And then we're going to pick the color swatch from this Pantone library you see over here. So it's not going to be just any color, it's going to be a Pantone matching color. So it's going to be a spot color. Pot color is a solid color, and CMYK is a color made from the mixture of the four primary colors: the K or black, the magenta, the yellow, and the cyan. And so what we're going to do is we pick spot color, and then instead of CMYK we go to Pantone solid uncoated down here, and then you have your list right here, and all I'd have to do is type in here 185, and there it is. It shows it there and it shows it down there, and you press OK, and it's saying that this swatch already exists, so we can cancel that. So then the swatch appears as a new swatch in there, and then what you would do is, we're going to cancel that, you would type in your text. You make a text box with the text tool over here. You make your text box, and you choose up here then your font, your size of typeface, whether it's regular, bold, or italic, and then you begin to type in the box, something in the box, and then you drag across that, and then it would be black, or whatever color it is that you have. You have to have your color selected over here in the swatches palette, and then you'll notice when it turns into that color that you've typed over here. So now we've got a two color separation document, and we've got a type that matches the graphics. And so let's take a look at what's called a preview. In InDesign CS5 and later, we have what's called a separations preview, which you see here. It allows you to preview a document before you go to try and separate it or make printing plates for a printing press. We have a exact registration two-color printing press. So what we're going to do is turn separations view on. By clicking on separations, and then we can see, you can't see any difference now because you got both the black and the red selected, but let's unselect the black, and then what you see here is this is, even though it's pictured, this is pictured as black, and this is what the black plate would look like. Now let's reselect the red, and then let's deselect the black, and there's it. Even though it appears black, this is going to be the red plate. And so you see what I did here. I filled in the parts of the couch to make it red. I filled in the man's shirt over here. I filled in the rabbi's scarf around his neck, and I filled in some of the clothing on the cover here, and the man's car red, and the red tile on the roof. And so we ended up with this end product here. I'm going to see if we can find, we have to go back on the separations preview, take off the separations now, and you can see all the different red areas that I carefully filled in. As to how to put in that red area and make sure there's a trap, that was covered in part 1 of this video. And so this video was how to add a spot color to a document. You wouldn't notice that it was a spot color printed on a laser printer or inkjet. It seems to print just the same, but when you do the color separations and print out the colors in the print software, the postscript driver that comes with InDesign and the printer, then you'll be able to actually separate the two plates and make two printing plates, one for each color. And when they're printed in exact registration, you get the same look as a color laser printer, but it's a lot cheaper because you're printing at a penny per color per page, versus on a laser printer or inkjet you're talking about 6 or more cents a page. And also the printing press is going to be able to print at anywhere up to 6,500 impressions copies an hour at this accurate registration. So for long run purposes and two colors, the printing press has an advantage of cost savings over an inkjet or a laser printer. So that's it for today's training. Thank you for watching. There'll be other videos coming in the future, and we have other videos already posted under his Print Media Ministries. Thank you, or Desktop Publishing.